Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It's Friday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, traders. It's November 15th, 2024. We're going to go through SPY on multiple timeframes. We're going to go quickly through this video so I can get this to you. The higher timeframes will go fast, and then the 65 will go around the horn to the other indices and kind of map out what I think is going to happen. Just to give you in a nutshell, I think we're headed a little bit lower, and then we'll create a positive divergence, and then we'll have a tradable bounce for our first wave 1 to 2. So yeah, we're doing this video about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you're new, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. But if you want to get these intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member for 99 cents. All right, so let's jump into it. We have SPY on the monthly time frame. We moved our trend line to this one here. There's a more appropriate one from the 1929 that hits this confluence as well, but from this top 2008 21 to this top here is much more appropriate. We are rejecting off of that so far. We'll see how the month ends if we get some sort of reversal type candle. Then we have negative divergence on all time frames, so I don't want to go and waste your time through all of that again. We have the recession targets video that I'll post up above and at the end of the video, where you can get all of that information. So so far rejecting here. Let's look at the weekly. And just like the monthly time frame, we have a rejection, and we're still, appropriately above. It's still a bullish stance on both those time frames, and so we'll probably see some sort of significant bounce about the 8 EMA, and that should be in the 580 zone by the time we get there. And I'm thinking to the start of next week, and next week could be depending on the catalysts and whatnot, we should get some sort of bounce and then a rejection off of that. And our next area of interest here would be about the 560, 562, where the 20 moving average on the weekly and our breakout zone. So that'd be a back test of the breakout. Looking at from another point of view, that's also our former 162% retracement, where you have great resistance there. Now would be considered support. So that's why that is so significant. And I do believe this move is just getting started. We have 1229. We have something, some sort of time relationship on that date. We'll see when we get there, if we get there, what that implies. On the daily time frame, trend is our friend. We are looking at a bearish rising wedge. And after that wedge broke down, we formed a larger wedge and then a smaller one inside. So here's a smaller one filled out appropriately. I think this is an A, B, C, and that this is the top. And we're rejecting off it pretty hard here. So I'm looking for at least a pause. Probably we might even end the day right on top of here, or see some sort of reaction off of the 20. That'd be typical. Just like this, you have typical reactions off the 20 because that's our trend indicator. So clearly we lost momentum on the 8 EMA, but the trend is still technically up above this 20 moving average here. And this is my projection. I don't know where this will end up time-wise, but this is my projection here, where I think we reject off of this top, and we head not in a straight line, but a 5-wave impulse move to test this trend line here. And so this will be our zone between the 565 and the we'll call it 555 if we headed straight there, but I think it'd be more appropriate a little bit further out to the beginning of December. And we'll look at those time relationships as well. So it could be the 560. So we'll just call it 560 just to be simple. And we'll look for a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave move down there, okay? All right, so our negative divergences are starting to play out now. This is the overall pattern that we're looking at. Expanding wedge, and I do think we'll test the bottom of this wedge over time, and that will be a huge test of where price will go at that point. So I know that's really bearish and that's far away from here, but it's very likely that this bottom will test. And we talked about that in the big picture because we have a triangle that we developed here, and we'll see where we go from that point. So let's move to another board. Let's do this one here. And so we're rejecting off of that final target, the 162% retracement from this correction. And I never thought we'd get up there. I am the first to admit that. But after the reaction from the election, that was a perfect move there into resistance, and that's our final target there. So now with this starting to reject, we're getting into the 20. I think it's possible that we do a 50-60% retracement. So this 150%, we'll see if that is the case. That should close the gap, and this should be a good resistance here at the 592 going into 593. And again, this is my projection. That should be along with the 200 moving average here. And what else? The time relationship, we have the beginning of... Here's the beginning of November. This could be the wave 3 low. We could have a significant wave 3 low at this point. And then maybe our further right here, we'll put this out just a little bit more bounce here. And this is the bullish situation. I don't think this is the case. So I'm going to take that out. And if we need to, for you bulls, this would be a good spot to get long. And that's what we do for our trades anyway. We love to get into the bounce trades where both bulls and bears want the same thing. So I could imagine testing that 200 moving average and getting a significant bounce from there. So this is all our primary move here. This would be a wave 1, and we should see 5 waves into this, and we should get our low around that area. The low could be in this cluster too, but we'll see if it's which cluster that is. Okay. Now, where this actually goes is to be seen. I don't know if that's our move all the way down there, but what makes sense is that we looked at it before, is that this trend line could be the point. Okay, I know I pointed way down there. If we get down here and then back test, that's possible too. But I think it's more likely. I just drew that for a placeholder in this zone here, so don't get thrown off by that. I think it would probably be more appropriate for me to raise it up a bit, because that's just simply a wave 1, okay? And down to 565 would be appropriate. That's the back test that we talked about. So sorry about that. I definitely want to play it like that. And then maybe if we bounce off here, then we go into another time cluster where we get a rejection off of a lower high here. So this move, well started here, get a bounce, and continue lower would be our game plan. Let's go to 65, and we'll go quickly around the horn here, and I'll describe what I think should be happening. Okay, here's our bearish rising wedge. We had the megaphone, falling megaphone breakout, and I suspect we will back test that coming into Monday or turn around Tuesday. Right now we're getting a little reaction there because it's a 100 moving average. It's also the 20-day moving average right here. So we place this level here in the Discord, and there's where our resistance is, makes good support. And I think we should see just a micro bounce here. And so we could measure that out. So if we get it from right here, should get some sort of bounce, maybe up to 590 zone or so. It should be shallow. It's significant enough to play if you're scalping, but if you're short already, we're just going to hold our swings into that low. All right. So we should see a back test here. This just doesn't look quite complete yet, right? So if you're a bull, then this is where you're at, ABC. Okay. As a bear, we're looking for a 1, 2, 3, a bounce, a shallow bounce, and a 4 and a 5. Okay. So what should that look like? This is going to be a busy screen here, so I got a lot of stuff going on. I had this target from the high here going to 1 into 2, and then a possible 262 extension there. So just for those purposes, I'm going to take that out, but that's at about the 583. Now, once this low is in, I can move this and adjust this accordingly. It's a little bit below there. So if we go a little bit lower, I'll have to adjust it. But now what I did is I went to the top of wave 2, and I can start marking these now too. Here's 1, here's 2, and we're looking for wave 3 to complete. And so when you get a wave 3, it's typical for a 23.6, or the 382 is more typical, and that starts right at the gap. So let me make those apparent. We want those red. And all we want highlighted is the 382 and the 236. So that will be our zone for a re-short here. So wave 4 should come into that zone. And a wave 5, one more move lower. Okay, and that should be about that 580 area, where that's where we got bearish actually. It was right here at 580. Ended up getting on top of it, but it's a great resistance, and then support, and then resistance again. So you have a kind of a triangle here, and that's where a lot of volume is going to be. So right in the zone is where wave 5 should end, and it's looking like we already had this time cluster. That was a top, so we can take those out. Let's clean up our board. So we'll see. I need to put some more time ratios from this top here, but maybe going into Monday, let's see, is that the 20th? Maybe the 20th we get a bounce here. That's possible. So wave 4s can waste time. It could take a whole entire day for a wave 4 at this level, and it actually could take a couple days, especially if you're doing a flat pattern. And then one more move down into 1120. I think that is that Monday or Tuesday, 15th, 19th, and then 20th. So maybe going to Wednesday, we'll see what happens there, what kind of relationship we have. All right. So that's what it should look like, a 5-wave move down. Now that's not, in stone. So if this is a 1-2 and we want to get another 1-2, maybe it goes a little bit deeper and kind of tricks us. So we have to make sure that our shorts have plenty of time on them. We're still swinging out to December and even in January. So we're going to protect those with the Tesla calls that we talked about. We did a tech video for members. And so even if this wants to end up being a 1-2, 1-2, we have to be careful of that. And then this wave 3 should be pretty big move to the downside. And so there's different ways you can count it. But what we have on our advantage now is I think the trend is going to be down. So any trend line, any bounce should be sold into, and just give yourself plenty of time, in order for those plays to play out. But closing the gap would be an appropriate spot. If it goes higher than the 382 and the 386, then we're going to take off the 4 and we're going to put a 1-2, 1-2. Okay, so this potentially still could go to the 592 and even higher. Okay, and that would suck in all the bulls again because it would look like it's a bullish play. So the market's always tricking, so I can't say what's going to happen there, but I know that we're looking for a bounce. So we'll see what kind of bounce we get, and then lower prices. If the higher the bounce exceeding 382, then we're going to take this 5 out, and we're actually going to be in 3, which should take us straight down to whatever happens there. So we'll see what kind of catalyst we have as well going into next week. All right, I spent a lot of time there. So we want to zoom through these. We're getting right into the bounce zone. So that's that's even more of a reason, because we have this trend line here for the Qs where this could be, and this is a bullish scenario either way, is a 1, 2, 1, 2 would give us a deep retracement. And that on the 20th, we have NVIDIA anyway. So we'll keep that in mind. And then lower. Okay, so that would make sense with this chart because we're visiting the trend line here. To me, it wouldn't make too much sense if this was a 1, 2, 3, and then a 4, and then a 5, and then a rip back into it. That doesn't seem like the likely case. But if we don't make it here, then maybe we get our bounce and we just get a slight low, like a double bottom or so. So let's just keep that in mind. The Q should give us a lot of information on whether this is going to be a 1, 2, 1, 2, or a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then a wave up. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Either way, we'll be looking for a bounce. So just make sure you take profit through this. And Tesla, if we have the move that we think we're going to have, that would be a nice sharp move to make the Qs bounce really hard anyway. So. SMH, and now here's another reason why that could be a deep retracement is, SMH deeply oversold. We only have 2 points here, so that to me isn't making this a valid trend line. It did gap underneath it, so we could have a nice sharp retracement here too, with this being an impulse move there. Okay, quickly so I can get this video out to you. So I know we're entering those zones. So IWM starting to close the gap there. I don't think the full gap's going to be closed. Getting to these old highs here. So we might have a little bit lower to go, but if we are doing a 4 or 5, maybe this continues to be a little bit more bearish and we start visiting these highs here before we get a sharp bounce on IWM. And this being relatively weaker right now, it could just get a shallow bounce before heading to its wave 3. So we're not going to depend on IWM to give us all of our information. It's usually the Qs with SPY combined. And then lastly, VIX. So the VIX is really taking off here. We got our low here right into the options expected move. We touched both options expected move, and we're starting to lift off here. So with the VIX being up 18%, that's going to say that we're getting a bounce into Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so there's an 85% chance that there's a bounce into Monday or Tuesday. So we have to keep that in mind. We just closed this island gap. And so we should see a nice structure happening here. So we broke out of this bullish rising wedge, and we should have some sort of back test before heading higher. And that should be, the same thing with the market. As the market pulls back for wave 2 or 1, 2, 1, 2, this has no structure yet. So this is coming right off the lows. We should get a good retracement and then head higher. All right, so let me get this video out to you. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Don't forget to like the video. We'll talk to you tomorrow.